Ezekiel chapter 16. Harlot, hear the word of Adonai. The word of Adonai came to me, saying, Son of man, confront Jerusalem with her abominations, and say, Thus says Adonai to Jerusalem, Your origin and your birth are from the land of the Canaanite. Your father was an Amorite, your mother was a Hittite. As for your birth and the day you were born, your umbilical cord was not cut, nor were you washed in water for cleansing. You were never rubbed with salt, nor were you swaddled at all. No, I pitied you enough to do any of these things to you out of compassion. Instead, you were cast out in the open field, for you were detested since on the day you were born. When I passed by you, saw you kicking in your blood, I said to you, In your blood live. Yes, I said to you, In your blood live. I made you grow as myriads, like a branch of the field. You grew up, got tall, and came to full adornment. Your breasts were formed, your hair sprouted, yet you were naked and bare. Again, I passed by and saw you, and behold, you were truly at the time of love. I spread the corner of my garment over you and covered your nakedness. I swore to you and entered into a covenant with you, says Adonai, so you became mine. Then I washed you with water, rinsed off your blood from on you, and anointed you with oil. I clothed you with embroidery and put sandals of fine leather on you. I wrapped you in fine linen and covered you with silk. I adorned you with jewelry, put bracelets on your hands and a necklace on your neck. I put a ring in your nose, earrings on your ears, and a crown of glory on your head. So you were adorned with gold and silver. Your raiment was of fine linen, silk, and embroidery. You ate fine flour, honey, and oil. You became exceedingly beautiful and advanced to the kingdom. Your fame spread among the nations because of your beauty, for it was perfect through my splendor which I bestowed on you. It is a declaration of Adonai. But you trusted in your beauty and used your fame to become a harlot. You poured out your enticements on everyone who passed by. They were his. You took your garments, made high places, decked out with various colors, and fornicated on them. This should not happen. It should not be. You also took your jewelry, my gold and silver, which I gave you, made male images for yourself, and committed harlotry with them. You took your embroidered garments, covered them, and placed my oil and my incense before them. My bread that I gave you, fine flour, oil, and honey that I fed you with, you set before them as a sweet aroma. That is what happened. It is a declaration of Adonai. You took your sons and your daughters whom you bore before me and sacrificed them to be eaten by them. Were your obscene practices not enough? You slaughtered my children, making them pass through the fire for them. In all your abominations and harlotry, you have not remembered the days of your youth when you were naked and bare, kicking about in your blood. So it was after all your wickedness. Oi, oi to you, it is a declaration of Adonai. Then you built a mound for yourself. You made a high place for yourself in every square. You built your lofty place at the head of every street. You made your beauty an abomination. You spread your legs for everyone passing by and multiplied your harlotry. You committed immorality with the Egyptians, your lustful neighbors. You multiplied your prostitution to provoke me. So behold, I stretched out my hand over you. I diminished your ration. I gave you over to those who hate you, to the daughters of the Philistines who were ashamed of your indecent conduct. Then you also played the harlot with the Assyrians, never being satisfied. You played the harlot with them and still were not satisfied. So you multiplied your harlotry toward the land of merchants, Chaldea, yet even with this you were not satisfied. How weak is your heart! It is a declaration of Adonai Elohim. While you were doing all of these things, the work of a shameless harlot, when you build up your mound at the head of every road and make your high place in every street, yet you were not a harlot, since you scoffed at receiving payment, your adulterous wife who received strangers instead of her husband. To all prostitutes gifts are given, but you gave gifts to all your lovers. You bribed them to come to you from every side of your harlotry, so you are the opposite of other women. No one runs after you for favors. You give payment and none is given to you, so you are the opposite. Therefore, harlot, hear the word of Adonai. Thus says Adonai Elohim, because your filth was poured out and your nakedness exposed through your harlotry with your lovers, because of all the idols of your abominations, and because of the blood of your children that you gave to them. Therefore, behold, I will gather all your lovers, those you have pleased, and all those you have loved, with all them that you have hated. I will gather them against you from every side. I will expose your nakedness to them, so they may all see your nakedness. So I will judge you as women who commit adultery and shed blood are judged. Then I will bring on you the blood of fury and jealousy. I will give you into their hand. They will tear down your mound and break down your high places. They will strip you of your clothes and take your jewelry. They will leave you naked and bare. They will also incite an assembly against you, stone you with stones, and thrust you through with their swords. They will set your houses on fire and execute judgment on you in the sight of many women, so I will cause you to stop your harlotry. You will never again pay for a lover, so I will calm my fury against you, and my jealousy will turn away from you. Then I will be quiet and angry no longer, because you did not remember the days of your youth, but have enlarged me in all these things. Behold, I will also bring your way on your head. It is a declaration of Adonai. Have you not committed this wickedness on top of all your abominations? Behold, everyone who uses proverbs will say this proverb against you, saying, As the mother, so her daughter. So are your mother's daughter. So are you are your mother's daughter. who despises her husband and her children. You are the sister of your sisters who despise their husbands and their children. Your mother was a Hittite. Your father was an Ammonite. Your elder sister who lives to your left in Samaria, she and her daughters. Your younger sister who lives to your right in Sodom with her daughters. You have not only walked in their ways and gone after their abominations, but in a very short time you have acted more corruptly than them all in your ways. As I live, it is a declaration of Adonai. Your sister Sodom with her daughters have not done as you have done, you and your daughters. Behold, this was the iniquity of your sister Sodom, pride, gluttony, and careless ease. So she had her daughters, and she did not strengthen the hand of the poor and needy. So they were haughty and committed the abomination before me, therefore I removed them when I saw it. Moreover, Samaria did not commit even half of your sins. You multiplied your abominations beyond theirs, so you made your sisters seem unrighteous by all your disgusting things that you have done. You also bear your own shame, since you have interceded for your sisters, because of your sins that you committed, more treacherous than theirs. They appear more righteous than you, so you also be ashamed. Bear your disgrace, since you have justified your sisters. I will return their captivity, the captivity of Sodom and her daughters, the captivity of Samaria and her daughters, and along with them your own captivity. So you will bear your own disgrace and be ashamed of all that you have done, and becoming a consolation to them. Your sisters, Sodom and her daughters, Samaria and her daughters, will return to their former state. You and your daughters will return to your former state. Was not your sister Sodom an object of scorn to you in the day of your pride, before your own wickedness was exposed? Now you have become an object of scorn for the daughters of Aram and all that surrounded her, for the daughters of the Philistines, for all around who despise you. You will bear your wickedness and your abominations. It is a declaration of Adonai. For thus says Adonai Elohim, I will do to you just as you have done, since you despised the oath by breaking the covenant. Nevertheless, I will remember my covenant with you in the days of your youth. Moreover, I will establish an everlasting covenant with you. Then you will remember your ways and be ashamed. When you receive your older and younger sisters, I will give them to you for your daughters, yet not because of your covenant. So I will establish my covenant with you, and you will know that I am Adonai. So you will remember, be ashamed, and never open your mouth again because of your disgrace, when I have forgiven you all that you have done. It is a declaration of Adonai. Ezekiel chapter 17. Parable of eagles and branches. The word of Adonai came to me, saying, Son of man, propose a riddle and tell a parable to the house of Israel. Say, thus says Adonai Elohim, a great eagle with large wings and broad wings, full of feathers, which had varied colors, came to Lebanon and took hold of the top of the cedar. He plucked off its topmost wings, carried them to the land of the trade, and set it in a city of merchants. Then he took some of the seed of the land and planted it in a fruitful soil. So he placed it beside abundant waters. He set it like a willow twig. Then it sprouted and became a low spreading vine with its branches turned toward him. But its roots grew under him. So it became a vine, produced branches, and sent out shoots. There was also another great eagle with the large wings and many feathers. Behold, this vine bent its roots toward him and shot forth its branches toward him from the bed where it was planted, so that he might water it. It was planted in good soil by much water, so it would bring forth branches, bear fruit, and be a glorious vine. Say, thus says Adonai Elohim, will it thrive? Will it not be uprooted and stripped of its fruit? So it withers, all its new roots will wither. It will not take a strong army or many people to pull it up by its roots. Behold, though planted, will it thrive? Will it not completely wither? When the ease of the wind strikes it, and the beds where it grew, it will wither. And the word of Adonai came to me, saying, Say now to the rebellious house, do you not know what these things mean? Tell them, behold, the king of Babylon came to Jerusalem, took the king and the princes, and brought them with him to Babylon. He took one of the royal offspring, cut a covenant with him, putting him under oath. He also took away the leading men of the land. So the kingdom might be lowly, not exalting itself, but keeping his covenant so it would hold up. However, he rebelled against him and sending his messengers into Egypt so they might deceive him, horses and many people. Will he succeed? Will one doing such things escape? Will he break a covenant and escape? As I live, it is the declaration of Adonai. Surely in this place of the king who put him on the throne, whose oath he despised and whose covenant he broke, within Babylon he will die. Pharaoh with his mighty arm and great throng will be of no help to him in war. When ramps are cast up and siege towers erected to cut off many lives, since he has despised the oath by breaking in covenant, and behold, he has given his hand, yet he did all these things, he will not escape. Therefore, thus says Adonai Elohim, as I live, surely I will bring on his head my oath that he has despised, and my covenant that he has broken. I will spread my net over him, and he will be caught in my snare. Then I will bring him to Babylon and judge him there for his treachery that he committed against me. All the fugitives of all his armies will fall by the sword. Those that remain will be scattered to every wind. Then you will know that I, Adonai, have spoken. Thus says Adonai Elohim, I, even I, will take from a sprig of the top of the lofty cedar and will plant it. I will crop off a tender twig from the topmost of its young shoots, and I will plant it on a tall, prominent mountain. I will plant it on Israel's high mountain. It will bring forth branches, bear fruit, and be a magnificent cedar. Birds of every kind will nest under it. They will nest in the shade of its branches. Then all the trees of the field will know that I, Adonai, have brought down the high tree, exalted the lowly tree, dried up the green tree, and made the dry tree flourish. I, Adonai, have spoken, and I will do it. Ezekiel chapter 18. No more sour grapes. The word of Adonai came to me, saying, What do you mean by using this proverb in the land of Israel, saying, The fathers have eaten sour grapes, so the children's teeth are set on edge? As I live, it is a declaration of Adonai. You will never again use this proverb in Israel. Behold, every living soul is mine. The soul of father as well as the soul of son, both are mine. Behold, the soul who sins in the one who will die is the one who will die. Suppose a man is just and does what is lawful and right. He has not eaten at mountain shrines or lifted up his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel. He has not defiled his neighbor's wife or come near to a woman during Nida. He does not wrong anyone, returns his pledge for a debt, does not commit robbery, gives his bread to the hungry, and covers the naked with a garment. He does not loan with interest or take unjust gain. He keeps his hand from iniquity, executes true justice between people, walks in my laws, and keeps my statutes. Behaving honestly. Such a person is just, and he will surely live. It is a declaration of Adonai. Now suppose he fathers a son who is violent, who sheds blood and does any of those things to a brother, though the father himself does none of these things. He has even eaten at the mouth of mountain shrines, defiled his neighbor's wife, wronged the poor and needy, taken by robbery, not restored the pledge, lifted up his eyes to the idols, committed abomination, loaned with interest, and taken unjust gain. Will he then live? He will not live. He has done all these detestable things. He will surely be put to death, and his blood will be put on him. Now behold, suppose he fathers a son who sees all his father's sins that he committed, and observing does not do likewise. He does not eat at mountain shrines, or lift up his eyes to the idols of the house of Israel, or defile his neighbor's wives, nor does he wrong anyone, take pledged property, or commit robbery. But he gives his bread to the hungry, and covers the naked with a garment, withholds his hand from mistreating the poor, does not take interest or increase, practices my laws, and walks in my statutes. He will not die for the iniquity of his father, he will surely live. As for his father, because he cruelly oppressed, committed robbery from his brother, and did what is not good among his people, behold, he will die for his iniquity. Yet you say, Why does the son not bear the iniquity of the father with him? When the son has done what is lawful and right, has kept all my statutes and has done them, he will surely live. That soul sins. The soul that sins, he will die. The son will not bear the iniquity of the father with him, nor will the father bear the iniquity of the son with him. The righteousness of the righteous will be on him, and the wickedness of the wicked will be on him. But if the wicked turns from all his sins that he committed and keeps all my laws, and does what is lawful and right, he will surely live. He will not die. None of his transgressions that he committed will be remembered, because of his righteousness that he practiced. He will live. Do I delight in all the death of all the wicked? It is a declaration of Adonai. Rather should he not return from his ways and live. But when the righteous turn away from his righteousness and commits iniquity and does according to all the detestable acts that the wicked man does, will he live? None of his righteous deeds that he has done will be remembered, for his trespass that he trespassed, and for his sin that he has sinned, for them he will die. Yet you say, Adonai's way is unfair. Hear now, house of Israel, my way is not fair. Is it not your ways that are unfair? When the righteous man turns away from his righteousness and commits iniquity, he will die for it. Because of his iniquity that he did, he will die. But when the wicked man turns away from the wickedness that he committed and does what is lawful and right, his soul will live, because he considers and turns away from all his transgressions that he committed. He will surely live and not die. Yet the house of Israel says, the way of Adonai is unfair. House of Israel, are my ways not fair? Is it not your ways that are unfair? Therefore I will judge you, house of Israel, each one according to his ways. It is a declaration of Adonai. Return and turn away from all your transgressions, so that they would not be a stumbling block of iniquity for you. Cast off from you all your transgressions that you have committed. Make yourselves a new heart and a new spirit. Why will you die, house of Israel? For I have no pleasure in the death of anyone who dies. It is a declaration of Adonai. So return and live. Ezekiel chapter 19, 2 lamentation songs. As for you, raise a lamentation for the princes of Israel, and say, what was your mother? A lioness. Among lions she couched. Among lions she reared her cubs. When she raised up one of her cubs, he became a young lion. When he learned to tear prey, he devoured people. When the nations heard about him, he was caught in their pit. They brought him with hooks to the land of Egypt. When she saw, she waited in vain. Her hope was lost. She took another cub and made him a young lion. He prowled among the lions. He became a young lion, leaned to catch prey, devoured men. He ravaged their widows and laid waste to their cities, the land that all who were in it were terrified from his roaring. The nations gathered against him on every side from the provinces. They spread their net over him. He was caught in their pit. They put him in a cage with hooks and brought him to the king of Babylon. They brought him to hunting nets, so his roar was no longer heard in the mountains of Israel. Your mother was like a vine in your blood, planted by the water. It was fruitful and full of branches because of abundant water. Its strong rods became rulers and scepters. Its height was exalted above the clouds. It was seen in its height with the mass of its branches, but it was uprooted in fury. It was cast down to the ground. The east wind dried up its fruits. Its strong branches were broken off and dried up. Fire consumed it. Now it is planted in the wilderness in a dry and thirsty land. Fire has spread from its main branch and devoured its fruit. No strong branch is left on it to become a ruler's scepter. This is lamentation, and it is used as a lamentation. Ezekiel 20, rebellion and return. On the 10th day of the 5th month of the 7th year, some of the elders of Israel came to seek Adonai. They sat before me. The word of Adonai came to me, saying, Son of man, speak to the elders of Israel. Say to them, Thus says Adonai Elohim, have you come to inquire of me? As I live, it is a declaration of Adonai. I will not be inquired of by you. Will you judge them, son of man? Will you judge them? Make them know the detestable practices of their fathers. Say to them, Thus says Adonai Elohim, on the day I chose Israel, I lifted up my hand to see the seed of my house of Jacob, and made myself known to them in the land of Egypt. I lifted up my hand to them, saying, I am Adonai your God. On that day I lifted up my hand to them to bring them out of the land of Egypt into a land that I had sought out for them, flowing with milk and honey, the splendor of all lands. I said to them, Each of you must throw away every detestable thing from his eyes, and not defile yourselves with the idols of Egypt. I am Adonai your God. But they rebelled against me and were unwilling to listen to me. None of them cast away the detestable things that were before their eyes, nor did they forsake the idols of Egypt. So I resolved to pour out my fury upon them, to expend my anger upon them in the midst of the land of Egypt. But I acted for the sake of my name, to keep it from being profaned in the eyes of the nations, where they were, in whose sight I made myself known to them, to bring them out of the land of Egypt. So I led them out from the land of Egypt, and brought them into the wilderness. I gave them my laws, and taught them my judgments, which, if a man does, he will also live by them. I also gave them my Shabbatot as a sign between me and them, so they would know that I am Adonai who made them holy. But the house of Israel rebelled against me in the wilderness. They did not walk in my statutes. They rejected my judgments, which, if a man does, he will live by them. They greatly profaned my Shabbatot. Then I resolved to pour out my fury on them in the wilderness to consume them. But for the sake of my name, I did what would keep it from being profaned in the eyes of the nations in whose sight I had brought them out. Yet I also lifted my hand to them in the wilderness, that I would not bring them into the land which I had given them, flowing with milk and honey, which in the splendor of all lands. For they rejected my laws, did not walk in my rulings, and profaned my Shabbatot. For their heart went after their idols. Nevertheless, my eye spared them from destruction, so I did not make full end of them in the wilderness. I said to their children in the wilderness, Do not walk in the statutes of your fathers. Do not keep their ordinances. Do not defile yourselves with their idols. I am Adonai your God. Walk in my statutes. Keep my ordinances and do them. Keep my Shabbatot holy, so they will be a sign between me and you, that you may know that I am Adonai your God. But the children rebelled against me. They did not walk in my statutes, and they did not keep my ordinances to do them, which if a man does, he will live by them. They profaned my Shabbatot. Then I resolved to pour out my fury on them, to expend my anger on them in the wilderness. Nevertheless, I withheld my hand. For the sake of my name, I did what would keep it from being profaned in the eyes of the nations in whose sight I had brought them out. I also lifted up my hand to the wilderness to scatter them among the nations and disperse them through the countries. For they had not obeyed my ordinances, but had rejected my statutes and profaned my Shabbatot. Their eyes went after their fathers' idols. I also gave them statutes that were not good, ordinances by which they could not live. I let them become polluted in their own gifts, when they offered up all that opened the womb to pass through the fire, so that I might make them desolate, so that they would know that I am Adonai. Therefore, Son of man, speak to the house of Israel, and say to them, Thus says Adonai Elohim, Again your fathers have blasphemed me, in that they dealt faithlessly with me. When I brought them into the land, which I lifted up to my hand to give to them, they saw every high hill and every leafy tree. There they slaughtered their sacrifices and presented their offensive offering. There they made their soothing aroma and poured out their drink offerings. So I asked them, What is the high place where you are going? So the name of it is called Bama to this day. Therefore say to the house of Israel, Thus says Adonai Elohim, Will you pollute yourselves after the manner of your fathers, and go after their abominations? When offering your gifts, make your sons pass through the fire. You keep polluting yourselves with all your idols up to this day. So should I be inquired of by you, house of Israel, as I live? It is a declaration of Adonai. I will not be inquired of by you. What comes up in your mind will not happen at all when you say, Let us be like the nations, like the families of the countries, worshipping wood and stone. As I live, it is a declaration of Adonai. Surely with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm, and with fury poured out, I will be king over you. I will bring you out from the peoples and gather you out from the countries where you were scattered, with a mighty hand and with an outstretched arm, with fury poured out. I will bring you into the wilderness of the peoples. I will judge you there face to face, just as I judged your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt. So I will judge you. It is a declaration of Adonai. I will make you pass under the rod and bring you into the bond of the covenant. I will purge out the rebels from among you, and those who transgress against me. I will bring them out from the land where they dwell, but they will not enter the land of Israel. So you will know that I am Adonai. As for you, house of Israel, thus says Adonai Elohim, Go on serving your idols, all of you. Yet afterward you will surely listen to me, my holy name. You will no longer profane with your gifts and your idols from my holy mountain, Israel's high mountain. It is a declaration of Adonai. There the whole house of Israel, all of them will serve me in the land. There I will take pleasure in them. There I will receive your offerings, the first of your gifts, with all your holy things. With your sweet aroma I will accept you. When I bring you out from the peoples and gather you from the countries where you have been scattered, I will be sanctified in you in the sight of the nations. You will know that I am Adonai when I bring you into the land of Israel, into the country where I lifted my hand to give it to your fathers. There you will remember your ways and all your deeds by which you defiled yourselves. You will loathe yourselves for all your evil that you have done. Then you will know that I am Adonai when I deal with you for my name's sake, and not according to your evil ways and your corrupt deeds, house of Israel. It is a declaration of Adonai.